The Lakers have made the announcement that many were expecting. It was reported that the Lakers were hiring former player J.J. Redick to be their next head coach. Redick will replace Darvin Ham, who the Lakers fired in May after they fell to the Nuggets in the first round of the playoffs. Redick has no coaching experience, but has a good relationship with LeBron James and played in the NBA for 15 seasons with 6 teams, most notably the Clippers and Magic. Redick will now join guys like Steve Nash and Jason Kidd and Derek Fisher as former players who had no coaching experience but played in the NBA and were hired to be head coaches. However, most of them have little success, as only Kidd has done well. But it started rough for him as he was fired as his first 2 stops in Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Redick has ties with James because they both co-host the podcast together called Mind the Game. He also has a podcast called The Old Man, The Three, which he started when he was still playing. In addition to having 2 podcasts and playing the NBA for 15 seasons, Redick works at ESPN, where he was an NBA analyst and calls games for the network, such as the NBA Finals. Redick has been the favorite to land the job for quite some time until UConn's Dan Hurley became the favorite. However, after an interview with the Lakers in person, he returned to Connecticut without a deal. He later changed his mind and returned to UConn with a new contract after winning back-to-back titles with the Huskies. According to Woj of ESPN, the length of Redick's deal with the Lakers will be 4 years. It is still not known how much the Lakers will pay Redick, but according to sources, it's much less than what they offered Hurley, which was 6 years for $70 million. On Thursday, the Lakers offered the job to Redick, and he went to work right away to hire his assistants who could help him. According to sources, Redick wants to hire assistants who have a lot of experience since he does not have much. The GM of the Lakers, Rob Pelinka, was, according to sources, blown away by Redick's knowledge of the game and his ability to connect with players when they were interviewing him. With the Lakers hiring Redick, he will now be their 9th head coach since 2011. Before Redick, the Lakers have had a revolving door at head coach that includes Mike Brown, Mike D'Antoni, Byron Scott, Luke Walton, Frank Vogel, and Darvin Ham. Redick's goal will be, of course, to make the playoffs and win. But his other goal will be able to prioritize the development of players such as Max Christie, Austin Reeves, and Rui Hachimura. He will also need to get Anthony Davis more involved. They want Davis to become more of a number 1 option since James is getting older and have one more run with LeBron before he hangs it up. According to sources, the Lakers chose Redick over guys such as Celtics assistant Sam Cassell, Nuggets assistant David Alderman, Timberwolves assistant Micah Nora, and Chris Quinn of the Heat. Redick has been working on who the Lakers should draft as they have the 17th and 55th pick. Sources close to the situation say that the Lakers will select LeBron's son, Bronny James, with their first-round pick.
Really don't give a like, honestly.
In other NBA news, the Pistons have fired Monty Williams after only 1 season. Williams was let go by the Pistons after Detroit had the worst record last season. Detroit finished the year with the league's worst record at 14-68, which also included an NBA record 28 straight losses. With the Pistons firing Williams, they will still owe him a whopping $65 million for the next 5 years since he was still under contract when they let him go. Williams was hired by the Pistons last offseason after he was let go by the Suns. Williams helped the Suns make the finals in 21 and had the best record the very next year at 64-18, in which he won Coach of the Year as well. However, after the 2023 season, the Suns had a disappointing finish, which led them to fire Williams despite going 45-37. Williams has now had 3 head coaching stops that includes the Pelicans, Suns, and Pistons. Overall, Williams has a head coaching record of 381 and 404. Their former GM Troy Weaver left the team, which was the reason why they brought in Monty Williams as head coach last offseason. However, after he left the team, the Pistons owner Tom Gores and the president of basketball operations for the Pistons met with Williams every day to discuss the team's future. With the firing of Williams, the Pistons will now look for their 3rd coach in the last 4 years. Detroit fired Dwayne Casey after they went 17-65-23. When Williams was fired by Suns owner Matt Ishbia, he was not going to coach and help his wife, who had cancer. However, after the Pistons offered Williams the biggest contract for a coach at the time, which was 6 years at $78 million, he accepted the job. The Pistons will now be the only team looking for a new head coach. The draft is on Wednesday, but the Pistons, who have the 5th pick, will likely not have a head coach by that time. The Pistons' job is not very desirable at this time since they have not made the playoffs since 2019 and have not won a playoff series since 2008. But the bright side for the Pistons is they have cap space and some young players that include former number 1 pick Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Asur Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, and Jaden Ivey. For the 2nd straight season, the Pistons will have the 5th pick, even though they had the worst record last season. Now that Williams is gone, the Pistons will search for their new head coach. According to reports, the potential replacement for Williams is Pelicans assistant James Borrego. Other candidates are Chris Quinn of the Heat and Micah Nora of the T-Wolves. Whoever takes the Pistons head coaching job will have their work cut out for them. Other big news in the NBA is regarding the Pacers. According to reports, the Pacers have extended All-Star forward Pascal Siakam to a massive deal. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN was the first to report the news. Siakam was acquired by the Pacers at the deadline from the Raptors. Even though he was a free agent after the season, the Pacers decided to gamble and trade for him, hoping that he would re-sign with them in the offseason. Well, it worked, because Siakam now plans to sign the Supermax with the Pacers. His new deal will be 4 years for $245 million. It is now the second biggest contract in the Pacers franchise history, only to teammate Tyrese Halliburton. Once July 6th hits, the deal will become official. The Pacers were hoping that he would re-sign after the season. They also wanted him to pair well with Tyrese Halliburton, in which they did, and had a credible run to the conference finals. After being traded to the Pacers at the deadline, Siakam averaged 21 points, 6 boards, 4.9 assists, 1 steal per game, and shot 55% while shooting 39% from the three-point line. The 2019 NBA champion is now locked in with the Pacers. The Pacers now have their core together, locked in with a combination of Halliburton and the 2019 Most Improved Player of the Year, Pascal Siakam. After it was reported that the two-time All-Star was staying put with the Pacers, he had this to say: "I'm so grateful and happy that I came into place where you just feel so supported and you feel like you're needed, you feel like you matter. And as a player, that's really all you can ask for." And that's the big news so far in the NBA. NBA free agency begins on June 30th with players such as Paul George, LeBron James, OG Anunoby, and DeMar DeRozan, all free agents.